There can be only one podcast, and may it be the Prince of the Universe. Hi folks, I'm Matt, and we are going through all of the TV novelizations from the TV show. This has been a lot of fun. I'm really happy I did this. At first I didn't know exactly how. When I was reading through the books, or when I bought the books, I remember Matthew from the Geeks Out, a good friend of mine, a good channel, check it out. Anyway, he told me that he said, "Oh, you bought them all." He said, "Are you going to do a review on them?" I was thinking, no, I didn't think about doing a review on them. He said, "You should. I'd be interested." Now, I don't know if he's listened to the podcast, but Matthew, you're getting what you want. So thanks to him, that's when I decided, yeah, I guess I should do reviews on this. And when I looked online, or like on YouTube, I should say, no one did videos of this. And I thought, well, maybe I can do it like Matt's Expanded Universe. You know, I have the actual, I didn't mention this, but I do have a katana blade in my house. Weird story how it got to me. I do not think the blade is worth anything. Let me check it out because it's right next to my... In fact, it's so weird. If you watch the Matt's Expanded Universe videos, you can't see it, but it is tucked away right next to me. I mean, I could easily just grab it and start playing with it. It's right next to me the whole time, but it is tucked away. You may be able to see the hilt in one or two shots. I don't know. I don't think so. But it was hidden away for the longest. But I've had this for years. Now, I've always been a fan of Highlander, of course. And I remember I had I had this big wooden sword. Remember one of those? This is going to tie into another story I told earlier. Remember I told you I did a lot of Shakespeare. Well, not a lot, but I did 2 Shakespeare things. Well, the first one I ever did was Tempest. Scared to death the whole time because the lady was she just kind of scared me. I think I mentioned her on Saturday Morning Salmon Flange before. But I was so friggin' scared of her because she barked at people and yelled at people. She wanted people to do things right. She was a very strict director. But she was a good friend of the family, and I still love her today. I mean, we still talk and everything. But she was doing this show, and she wanted me in it. And you don't say no to Miss Kathy. And I was like, okay. But I was scared to death because I knew she was a stickler for lines and making sure you followed the rules. And I had not done that many shows. So I was scared to death. And she knew that. I had a very small line. I said, I don't want a big character. Please make me a small character. She did. But I was the king. Well, when they made all these wooden swords, they made these strong-looking, good-looking wooden swords. Well, the star wanted the biggest one. And he should get the biggest one. And I looked at Kathy and went, wait, Kathy. I said, that doesn't make sense. The king should have the biggest sword. I just wanted the biggest sword because I was taller. He wanted the biggest sword because it was the coolest sword. And then Kathy looked at me and went, you're right. You deserve the bigger sword. Give him the bigger sword. And so I got to keep this big hawking sword, and I absolutely loved it. I got to take it back with it. In fact, I still have it in my closet today. I never threw it away. I still have it. I don't know why I kept it, but I was like, I just love it. It's kind of, it's 2 pieces of wood nailed together, but it's colored, and it's kind of cut a little bit like a sword, but I absolutely love it. I think it's a great wooden sword, and I've kept it for years. And I remember I was in these apartments, and this is kind of weird, but I'm going to digress here like I always do in these podcasts. But I actually lived in these apartments. I've been having dreams of these apartments lately. I don't know why. It's almost like I never left. Like I forgot I was still paying rent there, and I go back and I'm like, oh man, some of my old stuff is still here. You know, my apartment's run down. The lights don't work because they cut the electricity off, but I'm still paying rent for some reason on it, and I never knew. So it's really weird, but I've had that dream twice recently. But it was back when I was living in those apartments. And I guess because I lived in them for so long. I mean, seriously, I lived in there for so long. They had 2 different tenants take over in my time there. So it was 3 different names while I was with it. And I'd been there for so long that I was renting a 3-bedroom apartment for $350, which is nowhere near what the price should have been back then. And today it would have been even enormously more. But back in the day, it should have been almost double that. It should have been $600 room, $650 room, and I was still paying $350. And I remember the lady told me, she's like, I'm sorry, we don't know who you are. You pay your check, but your file got lost a long time ago. She went, how long was your contract for? Because they wanted to renew my contract for a higher price. I went, Oh, it was really weird. I signed a 10-year contract, and we looked at each other, and I was dead serious. And then she started laughing, and I started laughing because she knew I was joking. And she decided that she liked me and decided to let me keep this 3 bedroom. Because I told her, I said, look, I'm living by myself, man. My roommates moved out years ago. I just don't want to move. I said, I love it here, but if you go up on my rent, I'm going to have to move because I can't afford it. I said, I'll move to a 1 bedroom. She went, we don't have any 1 bedrooms. I went, well, what do you have? She went, all we have is 3 bedrooms left. I went, oh, because no one wants a 3 bedroom? She went, right, people like the 2 or 1 bedrooms. I went, well, then why not just let me stay there? Some money's better than no money, right? And she decided yes. The condition was I could never have another roommate, which I agreed to, but had to break because my brothers forced a roommate, one of their old roommates, onto me when he moved down here for a woman. And then he caused a big. I love the dude to death. I love him to death, but he pissed me off so many times. And I think he would admit he was wrong a lot back in the day, but he pissed off the assistant manager who followed him and saw him go into my room, my apartment, and said, hey, is he your roommate? And I couldn't lie. I said, yes, he is. I said, look, I'm sorry. He's here for a girl. He'll get married to her and leave. I said, my brothers forced me on him. They said, okay, he's a jerk, and you need to tell him. I was like, oh, my gosh. He was kind of thumbing the rules in their face and everything, and I was like, dude, you need to chill out. But it got really bad. He was ticking the assistant manager and the manager off, and I just eventually just left. And I remember they got upset. I remember the manager cried when I left. She begged me not to leave because we talked a lot. We had a lot of fun, but she didn't want me to leave because she just enjoyed me, enjoyed my company. When I dropped on my check, it was always during their office hours. I didn't just throw it I used to throw it in the door. But when it came to her and she tracked me down that one day and we had that talk, I said, she's pretty cool. And so I'd sit there and talk to her. There was no love going on there. There was no love. She was older. But the thing was, we just connected. We just had a lot of fun. Well, she boo-hooed that I left. She promised me the worst. She said, you can keep him. You can keep him. You can keep him there. We're so sorry. I said, no, ma'am. Because he was also causing trouble. There's a cop downstairs below me, and the cop came up and threatened to arrest us if we didn't shut up or whatever. And I don't know. Josh got in his face. It was just bad. I was like, oh, we got to leave. This is not worth it. So I got exiled from what I felt was paradise. In fact, that was the Bruce was my roommate back in those days in those apartments, and I remember I remember when Bruce left. I remember the time when Roger left. My original roommates, and I remember getting tons of other roommates. I mean, those were great times. Now that I think back on it, those were really great times. So some of my best memories were probably in those apartments. A lot of my great memories for an entire decade probably were in those apartments. And I remember when I left, it was sad. It was a sad time for me to leave that apartment, even though the apartment I went to, I absolutely hated, but had a few memories there, good memories there. But that's one thing I need to do. I need to talk about apartment living. That'd be a great podcast someday. But anyway, and all the wild stories in the apartments. But anyway, so when I remember leaving and getting kind of choked up because man, so many memories in this apartment. For some reason, I've been dreaming about it lately. But anyway, back to the story. You never parked. There was a bunch of free parking down below. We were on a hill, and you could park down in the little valley area. But you never wanted to park there because if it rained, it would flood. And when it rained, you would see people run out of the apartments and repark their cars, even if it was in the grass up on the hill. Because if you get caught in the valley when it's raining, your car could be flooded underwater. It would go about halfway underwater. Like it'd flood about 3-4 feet. Okay, well, up to my waist. So about, a good 4 feet, okay? And you're like, oh my gosh, 3-4 feet, that's insane. Yeah. Well, anyway, it rained. The first time I ever did that, I was like, shut up. Well, a few cars got caught, and they were flooded, and we were laughing. There's someone swimming out to their car, not swimming, but wading out to their car to get whatever they could out of the car, but everything was ruined. They broke the glass to their driver's side window, I remember, just to get in because they couldn't open the door because water would flood in. They were just trying to get some of their stuff out of the car. But I said, you know what? I'm going to dive into this water. And I remember I ran down the valley and just did a head dive. Dumb. It looked really deep, but it was only 3 feet. And I hit myself on the concrete parking lot. I scraped up my hands really good, I remember. and it really I was like, ow, I kind of fell because you're just jumping into a 3 foot shallow puddle there with hard concrete at the bottom. And but anyway, we used to play around in the puddle, wade around in the water. And then one day I remember I was like, hey, watch this. I remember my buddy, it was on my old video camera. It's lost to the world now, but I remember he recorded me doing it because he just was laughing. It was raining, and I got that sword, that little wooden sword, and I came out there like I was Highlander, and I went into the pool. I went to the weighted water and I went underwater because I could, you sit down, you'd be underwater. Then I rose up with my sword and I'd fight or whatever. Like spin, chop. And by the way, we're past college at this point. We're in our young to mid 20s. Okay, I'm not a kid right now, but I'm acting like one at this point. And so I'm chopping the air, I'm swirling around, I'm just having goofy fun. My roommate thought it was so funny, he recorded it, and we'd watch it because I'd rise out of the water again, slash with my sword, and I saw there's a few other people like looking at me like, who is that? And from that distance, they probably thought it was a real sword because, like I said, it was painted. They said, who is this crazy man who's running around with a sword in the parking lot? Hey, baby, it was the early 2000s. You don't mess with the crazy people back then. It was okay to be crazy. That was before people were calling the cops on everyone. Back in normal days, I guess you could say. But oh man, that was a lot of fun. That was a good memory. But anyway, the katana blade I have now, I'm 99.9% sure this is a replica sword. It can't be an original sword. It's got to be. I'm not a sword expert, so I do not know. I mean, the handle looks kind of old, but the cloth wrapping looks in great condition. Not to say it won't be in bad condition to be old, but it just looks a little too clean in spots to be a real sword. Even though we found this when we were cleaning out my wife's grandmother's house. So what it was doing there, I don't know. Did her husband, his grandfathers back in the day, my grandfather served in the war. Did they take a sword from someone? I don't know. Were swords around during World War II? The bayonets were. I'm sure swords were too. So I'm not really sure the origin of it. But I'm almost positive it's a replica because, like I said, it's got the little Chinese dragons on it that looks kind of, maybe looks authentic, but looks more fake than authentic. Like, it's got little inscriptions on the handle, but nothing too thing. I can see because I think she had wife has an uncle, and I bet my uncle bought it from some gun show probably, and that's most likely, and then just left it. It was one of his old things. That's what I'm thinking it was. But either way, I remember I saw it, and I was like, oh my gosh. I looked at this, and I said, what? I said, this is, because they were packing stuff she was moving to the old folks' home. I don't think she was dead yet. She was moving to the old folks' home, so they were packing it to storage. I went, this is my price. I said, this is my cost. This is my asking price for helping y'all move today. I want this sword. And the family was like, yeah, we don't even know why she would even have that sword here. They didn't have any idea what it was. So I took the sword home with me and played with it for a little bit. Did crazy sword photos where I'm throwing the sword katana over my head and everything and making crazy goofy things. I had my hair all wacky and everything. This is back when my wife and I just got married, I think. She's thinking, oh man, I made a mistake with this dude. And that was one of the many times she realized she made a mistake. But anyway, with me. But anyway, my nephews, I remember one of the first times my two youngest nephews stayed over. Not the first time, but the second time, I think, because I had both my little nephews over. And they slept in the room that I actually do all the recordings in. It used to be an extra bedroom, and it slowly morphed into my room. But they would sleep on the floor and, we put out little mats for them. Well, I remember one morning, they always woke up super early. And one morning I woke up, they're 4 and 5 at this point, okay? And he has the sword. The younger one has the sword. He's just whacking it back. No, the oldest one has the sword. He's just slashing the sword front and back. Left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. Just swinging around like a little kid would. And my other nephew's walking up to him and saying, Archer, I want to turn. And he's walking up to him. Any minute now, he's going to disembowel his brother because the sword is sharp. That's another thing. This is a sharp sword. I cut myself on it because I did the whole lick it and, lick my thumb and, run it across the blade like an idiot. And I sliced my thumb. I knew very quickly it was I was like, ooh, that's sharp. Ooh, cut my thumb a little bit on it. So it was very sharp, and I thought, oh no, he's going to disembowel his brother on the first, this is the first time to both spend the night, and she's never going to let me have him over again. Now, since then, I've had him over to spend the night several times. In fact, I was going to have him over to spend the night tomorrow night, but they couldn't do it. They're getting a little too old for spend the nights too, but they're still there. I mean, they're still in that area where it's still cool to spend the night at your uncle's, I think. But eventually when they get older in high school, which they kind of already are now, and definitely when they get to college, it's not going to be as cool. So take advantage of the coolness while I can get it. The coolness of being a cool uncle where you spend the night at his house. But that almost became a nice bloody night because I screamed. I was just waking up because I heard him. I was like, what are they doing in there? I was like, no, put that down, put that down. And I think I scared him real quick. He's like, what do we do? And I was like, you don't play with that sword. Let's not tell Mama this. They'll say, hey, Uncle Matt, let's play with the sword. We were slashing around. I can see that going wrong. But Bruce actually has the replica Highlander sword. I think he has both. I think he has the McLeod, claymore, and the katana blade. I don't know if he still has them now. They're probably in his huge, big storage bin, which, if so, I need to ask him if I can just have them, since he's never going to use them. But I do like my little katana blade. I showed him it. I was like, now look, I'm a Highlander too. Now, what do I use this blade for? Nothing. In fact, this is the first time I've actually taken it out in a long time. I was playing with it when I was I'm doing this podcast now. But, the reason I got it, because of Highlander. You always want a little Highlander sword, man. That's what it's all about, right? I don't know. Next time you pick up a katana blade, I dare you to say, there can be only one, and not think you're the coolest person in that room. That's the first thing that anyone should say when they handle a katana blade. Is like, there can be only one. There's no other phrase you can say that would be better or more awesome than there can be only. And you gotta say, you could even say in the Connor McLeod accent, there can be only one, or what? That's a terrible Connor McLeod, but you know what I mean. That's the that Christopher Lambert voice there. There can be only one. Like, there's no way, dude, you're Scottish. Okay? But we forgive you anyway because we love you. But, yeah, so get you a katana blade. That's the moral of this story. Now, almost forgot what the point of this was, right? We're supposed to be talking about Highlander novelizations, doofus. So here we go. We're talking about The Path. In The Path, Duncan and Richie go out to hear the Dalai Lama speak. Now, at first, Duncan is totally against going to the Dalai Lama. Richie buys him tickets. He thinks he's so excited because, that's what, Duncan is into. He's into that Zen stuff. I mean, he's all about the Dalai Lama stuff, the Zen, the peace, being at peace. He's like, Mac, I don't get it. Why won't you go? He went, I do not want to see the Dalai Lama. He's like, you know him? He's like, knew him, Richie. But as you know, reincarnation, the Dalai Lama gets reincarnated. So it's the same person. Well, he said, do you think he would remember you in one of his previous lives? He said, maybe. He said, do you have bad blood with the Dalai Lama? He's like, what? And it is intriguing. You're reading this going, what? Duncan and the Dalai Lama don't like each other? This is interesting. Well, Duncan, for some reason, agrees to go. Last minute says, fine, I'll go. He's sitting there. He's very nervous. The Dalai Lama is speaking, and then the Dalai Lama just suddenly stares at him, stops and picks him out in this big crowd of people. Nods slightly like, I see you, and then continues his speech. And that's when Duncan does this huge, giant flashback. And that's basically what the entire book is about. Everything I just told you takes place in the first chapter, okay? The rest of the book is a huge flashback until the very end, the very last few pages. Or the very last page or something. I can't remember. Anyway, it's back when he is in Tibet, and he's traveling through, this is back Warrior McLeod, Warrior McLeod. He's still Duncan McLeod, the kind McLeod. He's very proud of his, fight. He never backs down from a fight. He's a man's man. So this is where he's going to find out about the beliefs of the Wheel of Time. Oh, yes, the Wheel of Time, a Tibetan phrase. I thought that was interesting. In fact, if I was going to see it first if Stephen and Bruce wanted to come in and talk about the Tibetan Wheel of Time, but they were not interested in that, and they kind of laughed it off when I mentioned it to them back when we were doing our reviews on the Wheel of Time series. But anyway, he's trying to teach him. He meets with the Dalai Lama in this nice protected city, and the Dalai Lama is trying to teach him to be at peace. So Duncan agrees to stick around, though he's not really thinking it's going to be that big of a deal. He is intrigued by what the Dalai Lama has to say, and the Dalai Lama is intrigued by them because he can look at Duncan and see, you are an old soul. He kind of knows that, I think you're immortal. So he's not surprised to see Duncan years later, even though it's not the same guy. It's a reincarnation of the Dalai Lama who still remembers him. He basically puts two and two together and says, you were. You weren't lying to me. You are immortal. Because I think he does open up to the Dalai Lama. Anyway, of course, while Duncan's there, he falls in love. Now, there are these missionaries there. They're trying to convert the people of Tibet. One is portrayed as the villain. I don't really like that. I mean, how many times has the priest been the villain? Come on. A billion. It's a worn-out trope. But maybe back in the late 90s it wasn't. Anyway, his name is Father Edward. Father Edward is a jerk. He has a short temper. He has no appreciation for the people he's trying to convert, which is so unlike any missionary ever. So he's a terrible missionary. He's a terrible character, to be honest, because he's just written as a jerk, but he's a priest. Why did you write a priest as a jerk? I mean, I don't get that. But obviously, he's the bad guy. You know this because he's a spy for the enemy army that's about to invade the... Well, wait, I thought you were a man of peace. I thought you cared about the word or something, Oh, but these are heathens, so they can die. Wait, aren't you there to convert them? Missionaries are the last people to give up hope. I mean, it's just so against the character. But anyway, he's so evil. He yells at Duncan. He's in love with this girl too, but the girl's in love with Duncan, and she wants to marry Duncan, and Duncan not him. And he tries to hit on her, but she doesn't really care about him, and she floats to Duncan because she's in love with him, and they're engaged. And Duncan gets accepted by the family, and Duncan's sharing with her, "I'm immortal. I can't die." The pickup phrase done by every immortal ever that always seems to work. And so, but Father Edward's always in the way. There's another priest there who's always apologizing for Edward. So it could be that he was a plant a long time ago, because he's saying, yeah, Edward just is not like us. He's a little hot-headed. He's still trying to learn. You're thinking, why is this guy a missionary then? He's such a bad example of what your religion is all about. But he is a spy for this army led by an immortal. We don't know anything more than that. We know the guy's immortal, and he's a conqueror, a big warmonger. And now the thing is Duncan going to face him? Because Duncan knows he's out there, ready to attack the city. The Dalai Lama says, you will not, I do not want you killing anyone. Do not kill anyone. Do not destroy life. Destroying life is evil. Do not do that, Duncan. So Duncan's trying to, he likes this new way of life through the Dalai Lama, but he also realizes it's not realistic. And this is before season 6 of Highlander. But anyway, he decides that, yeah, you know what? I need to go back and I need to take this guy out. And so this is a very big problem with a lot, like with Scimitar, the same with Scimitar, and the same with Measure of a Man. Those books just weren't written by fans. I don't think this one was either. This one is boring. I mean, teetotal boring. They wanted to write a story that takes place in Tibet. They obviously love the Dalai Lama and his preaching. So it's Duncan getting that Zen training and just writing a Tibetan story where he falls in love with a village girl. But the evil chieftain of another clan is going to come in and wipe out the city, and Duncan must, save them. That's obviously what was written for, because this person has zero interest in the Highlander. How do I know this? Well, we're 30 pages. I went back and counted. 30 pages left in the book. We finally get to see or meet or find out who that immortal is. This villain we've heard about for almost 200 pages. Now at the very end, he gets introduced. Okay, 20 pages. You got to fast forward 10 pages left to 10 pages more. After that, there's more. Nothing happens for 10 more pages, and then we get a chapter dedicated to this immortal. What's his backstory? You want to know how long that chapter is? 3 pages long, basically 2.5, because the chapter whatever. The paragraph starts on half the page. She wrote 2.5 pages for his backstory of why he's an evil conqueror. Great. Am I supposed to care about this guy? And I'm thinking, is this the big baddie in the episode? 13 pages left. Okay? So from page, the last, the 20, last 19, 18 had his backstory. And then you have to skip another 7 pages because nothing's mentioned of him. Then finally, on page 13 pages left, he and Duncan meet. Great. So now they met. But then he walks away because he walks back into the town. Then Duncan goes on to his normal adventure again. So then we don't get to hear about him, not making this up, until 2 pages. Right at the very end. Duncan goes out there, they fight, he kills him. And that was in 1 page. 1 page. They met. You have to fast forward, 11 more pages, because Duncan has to have his love. The girl he was going to be married to, Father Edward kills. So Duncan has to kill Father Edward because he's pissed. Well, now he's broken the law. He has been shamed. The Dalai Lama is shamed of him, even though Father Edward turns out to be a spy. He was not a good guy anyway. It doesn't matter. The Dalai Lama is disappointed with him. He doesn't want to see him again. And that's why Duncan is ashamed to be around the Dalai Lama. Oh, by the way, that big bad immortal, he fights him in only 1 page and kills him too. So I guess he wasn't that big bad anyway. Terrible, terrible writing. Terrible pacing for a book. Horrendous. On the last half page, I think it flash forwards to the present where the Dalai Lama finishes his speech. And then at the after party, Duncan goes up to him, says hello, and he looks at him and says, "You have grown, blah, blah, blah," or something. The Dalai Lama has some jargon, and then that's the end. That's the end. It's on the last page. It's like they did, the pacing. Pacing was so slow. You could have stretched out this really interesting story of a conqueror coming in. What's his backstory? Let's hear, maybe he and Duncan meet up and have a throwdown. Just, they just kind of mean mug each other for a while, have some words said. He's taunting Duncan that he's coming for him. And then you can have this big, epic, drawn-out battle and everything. There could have been some awesome stuff. Nope. Our antagonist is mentioned 30 pages before the end of the book. And 20 pages left, we finally get a backstory on him. Like, we're supposed to care at this point? The book is almost over. Even a regular person who's reading and they're 20 pages away, they're probably going to finish it within the hour, right? And shoot, if they're reading it in they get good pacing, they're reading it in 30 minutes. So now I'm supposed to care about this person who I've never read about until right now? It's garbage. It's garbage. 13 pages left before the meeting. 2 pages left. They fight. I remember thinking, is this book going to end? Is there a part 2? That's what I started thinking. I was like, maybe this is part 1 of a 2-part series. Because I was thinking, I am just 2 pages away, and they have not fought yet. Oh, here they come. So now Duncan's going out to fight him. Okay, he challenges him. He goes after him. They swing blades for just a few seconds. He chops off it. Wait, he just beat him like that? Well, he wasn't that big and bad after all, was he? Duncan killed him in 1 page. And then the next page, it wraps up where he says, goodbye. He knows he has to leave the Dalai Lama. Fast forward to where he's at the Dalai Lama's thing, and that's the end. Oh my gosh, it's so bad. Like I said, the beginning and the end, obvious. I don't think it was written by a Highlander fan. I think it was written by someone who just wanted to write a story in that era, made a love story with a villain at the end who kills the love. Oh, dramatic. Oh, but then at the very end, the last 2, let's kill off we got to behead someone. He kills Father Edward a regular way because he's immortal, just a regular mortal. But with this immortal story, I don't want to put that in there. Let me just wait to the last 2 pages, and then we'll do it. And you're like, are you serious? Are you serious? It's just a total joke. And that's what's aggravating about this series. It was written, in my opinion, by non-fans. And people who did not know how to write Highlander, and I believe had no intention. In fact, Measure Man, Scimitar, and The Path, I think everyone should read these and tell them. It's only going to cost you, $3? Maybe less. All right? It's only going to cost you a couple bucks here. Skip that cup of coffee or half cup of coffee, small size copy. I don't even know if a small size is like $4.50 or $5 around here. So, hey, spend less money on a cup of, splitting a small coffee and buy these 3 books. Read them and let me know. It feels like these people did not care one lick about Immortals, just wanted to write a timepiece, and this was the one way they figured out they could do it. Now, thankfully, there aren't that many. I'm almost done with all the horrible ones. The series is getting better here. You're thinking, oh, Matt, we're batting, what, 2 for 3? I do like Element of Fire, so I'm going to keep that in the good section, even though it's not the best. Scotland the Brave, still awesome. And these other 3, garbage. Absolute garbage. Hey, you want to hear me rant some more? Maybe you won't. Maybe you hear me praise the next book. But either way, I'll see you next week on Princes of the Universe.